What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Six-Man Show. It is April 12th, 2021. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Luke Sylvia. Luke, what it do? What up?
Not much, man. Listen, guys. Just so you guys know, we have a world-class runner in the group here tonight.
Oh, okay.
Jonathan
This is
here.
how we're starting out. All
Uh,
right, here we go.
Ran the Magic 5K and
Okay.
placed fourth. So
Place fourth in my
that's
age
great.
group. We can
Hey,
end the conversation
that's
there.
we don't have to talk
Let's.
about how many were in the age group. Where you ran and I didn't. That's all I know. You know
It's
what?
worse than we thought, Luke.
What was
I am now
what?
sixth out of six. So since I logged my results, two more gentlemen in my age bracket have ran. Both finished ahead of me. I
Is
finished
it like your exact
52nd,
age or was it a bracket?
25 to 29. So I'm like in the middle of that.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
52nd out of 75 males. 97th place out of 173 overall. Yeah.
Listen, it's not great, but what I will say, the people who ran were probably sweaty tryhards like the ones I play in Warzone. So, you did it out of the goodness of your heart of being a Magic fan and for the Youth Foundation.
This is what I will say, and this is really, I believe, it's a testament to my athleticism and the fact that I am an athlete, a
Mm.
top tier athlete at that.
Mm,
So
mhm.
that was Saturday. I decided like Friday at noon that I was going to do this. I had no desire to do this whatsoever until noon Friday. I'm like, you know what? I might as well do it. Why not? It's just 3 miles. Let's go ahead and do it. The last time I ran a 5K was at my
Mhm.
church like 3 years ago. And I trained for like a month beforehand. Like twice a week, I would run, like 1 or 2 miles at the gym on the treadmill just to try to get some cardio back. The only cardio I get right now is playing basketball on Wednesday nights for like an hour and a half. To me, I thought I was
Fair.
like, yeah, I'll be fine. I was not fine. But I did say like 40 minutes is my goal. I said that before I started, and I came in at
Mhm.
39:23. So I beat my
Hit your
goal.
goal.
I finished it. It was for a good cause. I feel good about that. I don't feel good looking at the results. Everybody did better than me, but whatever. Not many people
What
run a
what
5K
was
on 1 day's notice if you're not a runner. So give me some
so
credit,
did
people.
you have to pay to run it?
43 freaking dollars. Yeah, I did.
$43, and it was for the Youth Foundation, so it was a great cause. I just didn't know. I hadn't heard what it was like. I knew it was Youth Foundation, but I didn't know if there was something else. But I figured there had to have been an entry fee that they were just giving that to donation stuff.
Yeah, so it was $43. I mean, you get they're really shipping it to my house, but obviously it didn't get here in time for the race as I signed up the day
Hmm.
before the race. But it's like you get a bib, a T-shirt, a medal for like finishing, and then you can make like an additional contribution to the Orlando Magic Youth Foundation, which I threw a few bucks in there. But I mean, $43
Right.
was like it's for a great cause. It'll be fun. I'll get some exercise. Why not?
Do you miss the days, Jonathan, where like middle school, where you could just run forever and it didn't matter what you had on? It could have been jeans, it could have been gym shorts, and you just felt like you never got tired. Because I miss that a lot. Um, I mean, now you told me to go run a 5K tomorrow. No shot I'm running the whole thing. No shot that I'm running a majority of it. There's just no way.
I probably ran like a good 70% of it. Walked a decent amount. I hadn't ran in forever. But I don't know what middle school you were at or what you were doing in middle school because that was not my experience. Like running sprints and basketball practice in middle school, I absolutely hated that. I always felt tired, did not enjoy running. So I'm glad that that was your
Well,
experience in middle school, but that was not my experience. I have
well,
no,
no.
I've never
So
loved
don't get
cardio.
it twisted. Nobody liked suicides in basketball practice. Nobody liked hearing your coach say "get on the line," which my team heard all too much. Um, No, I didn't like that. Never liked that. What I didn't mind as much was we had like where we ran in PE every Friday, which I don't know what kind of torture that is to make middle school students who are trying to celebrate the fact that it's Friday in the weekend making them run. That's kind of cruel in my opinion. But no, I mean, because in middle school, I was running 6 minute miles like it was my job. Uh, However,
Good
fast forward a
grief.
few years,
Never run a
it's not my
6-minute mile
job
in my
anymore.
life.
Yeah, it was
I think
middle.
my
I don't
best
know. I mean, we
my
ran it quite a
best
bit.
mile is like 6:35 or something like that, and I was a grown man with longer legs than a middle
Yeah, no,
schooler. You would think 6-minute mile, good for you.
right.
Never happened in
Well,
my life.
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. I felt like I never, I never felt gassed really until maybe the end. But then you sprinted out to the finish, and I'm never going back to that in my life. To be honest with you, even if I got like back in like really good shape, no shot that I'm putting in the dedication to run a 6 minute mile again.
So after losses in middle school, they used to take us out to the track, basketball practice, take us out to the track, and we used to have to do what were called Indian runs. I'm guessing there's some kind of
yeah.
terrible racial history to the name of that
Yeah, I
run.
can't say that
So I
anymore.
apologize. Don't cancel us for that. I have no idea what it meant, but that's what my coach called them. Do you remember these? Where the whole team would
person
run
in the back
in a
had to run to the
line.
front.
Yes, those were
Mhm.
the absolute worst.
I honestly,
Those
you
were the
unlocked a
I
memory
was
I
the
didn't even
shortest,
know I
pudgiest
had.
kid on the team.
Yeah,
What's that?
I didn't. You were a pudgy boy.
Well, I was very
'Cause you're
short
not now.
my 8th
So
grade year. No, I'm in there. I'm pushing the seams on these 32 shorts here, but no, I was like 4'9" on the 8th grade team in middle school, and I remember I started to get the worst pains in my knees. I couldn't even bend my knees to shoot free throws. Everyone on the team would make fun of me. And I went to the doctor, and he's like, "Those are your growth plates. You're about to have a major growth spurt." This is like the end of 8th grade. So I'm in practice the next day, like, yeah, my doctor's telling me I'm about to have a huge growth spurt. That's why I can't bend my knees. You guys are always making fun of me. You don't believe me, but it's true. I come in freshman year sitting at like 5'5", and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what happened?" I'm like, growth plates, baby. Couldn't shoot free throws.
Growth.
Look at me now. Look at me now. So
you were really.
then over the
4'9" in
next
8th grade.
couple of years, I grew to like 5'9.5", and I haven't budged an inch since. But it is what it is. Anyways, this is enough about my cardio. How dare you for
Yeah.
even bringing it up? Like, honestly.
Listen,
'Cause-
you did something for a great cause. What do you mean? Of course, it's Orlando Magic.
Well, now I
related.
found
had
out
to
that I'm
bring it
6
up.
of 6 instead of 4 of 4, which doesn't feel good. Next
That
year,
is
my
bad.
goal is to not come in last in my age group. This was the inaugural Orlando Magic Virtual 5K. When they do it next year, I might even be in Orlando to do it. I'm going to train for weeks beforehand, and I am going to make certain that I do not finish last in
Mhm.
my age group. All of you 25 to
can't finish
29-year-olds, you better watch out.
You
Can't finish last if you don't run it.
at all.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Exactly. Good for you,
Exactly.
bro. So let's talk about this really quick before we get into the weekly state of the Magic. So we just watched the Magic just get shellacked by the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll talk more about this game in a little bit, but 124-87. Steve Clifford now, I think it's the second time in the last 5 or 6 games that he's come into the press conference room, made some remarks, and just like, hey, thanks, bye, and just left, which we all know Clifford tends to do, especially after bad losses. It is exhausting for me, though, the fact that, not to make this whole thing about Mo Bamba or whatever, but, this is going to be a long season. We all knew from the moment these trades went down it was going to be rough for the rest of the year. Clifford even told the team that tonight. He's like, this is the team that we are right now. Sometimes we're just going to get our butts kicked. But when he started to talk to the reporters, he's like, I'm not going to go down the line of this guy did this well, this guy did this well. We didn't play well. He's like, yeah, Mo shot the ball well, big deal. Normally that would not be a big deal for anybody else except Mo, in my opinion. For a guy on the roster that is inarguably struggled more than anybody else on the roster, guy has his career high tonight. Give the kid the smallest pat on the back. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people aren't going to agree with that. People, especially these hard you-know-whats. I almost swore for the first time ever on this podcast just now. But these guys that come at us and oh, what, did you guys just start watching this team? Back in the Shaq and Penny days, blah, blah, blah. Not everybody that watches this team is 40 years old and has had the luxury to watch all 32 32, 33 seasons, whatever we're at to this point. Luke and I have been watching this team since the early 2000s. Let's get that out there. But there are a lot of fans who have only been watching this team the last 10 or 12 years. So, yes, not everybody has experienced all of the good things that have happened in this franchise. Some of us are looking for small wins along the way, even if we've experienced success along the way, like the 2009 finals run and things like that, right? Let's find small wins along the way the rest of the season, or it's just going to be miserable and it's going to suck, and nobody's going to want to watch the games. Like, I want to have something to look forward to watching these games. I want to be able to feel good about the fact that Mo Bamba, who has really not been all that great so far as his career, 3 years now, career high, has played excellent basketball the last 3-4 games now. Can we just enjoy that for 2 seconds, Steve Clifford, without you just throwing up the, not really a big deal, but thanks. See you later. Luke, say what you want to say. I'm fed up.
Yeah. I get it. From a coaching standpoint, right? From a front office standpoint, if they interviewed, Weltman after the game or something, then that would probably be a little different. Weltman would expand on Mo's good shooting night, whatever. However, that's not his spot. Cliff's spot is to win games. It doesn't matter, what the state of the team is, his roster, the makeup. He's just got to win. Like, he's supposed to win games. And, when I'm sure he just couldn't get up for, yes, Mo, who he was reluctant to play earlier in the year, by the way, anyway, probably can't get up for this, what is that, 30-point loss tonight. So, I mean, it's just hard to get up for that type of stuff. I get it. I mean, Cliff doesn't like losing. I'm sure if we were a head coach, we probably wouldn't be in a great mood after the game anyway when we lose by that much, and you've got the state of the team that looks like this. It's a fun team, yes, but it's not always a pretty team, and this was not a pretty team tonight. You had 2 guys in double digits. One of them had 12 points on 16 shots. That is Cole Anthony. He was the only other Magic player in double digits tonight besides Mo Bamba, like you said, notching his career high of 21. I thought Wendell Carter was going to be the big man scoring a lot tonight. He started out 6-6 in the first quarter, 6.6 rebounds. I really thought that, he could maybe get 15 and 11 at least. So it was kind of disappointed to see that Wendell Carter didn't, really capitalize on the hot start. But good for Mo. He shot 5 of 6 from 3-point land, and that's something that he's been relatively good at is shooting from beyond the arc. And if he can continue to do that, then that'll be great. I'd like to see him have more rebounds. He had 5 tonight. In his 21 minutes, but really it was just 21 points in 21 minutes. What else do you want? So he played well. The rest of the team did not. I mean, you look at the numbers, Jonathan, for this game. The Magic shoot 22% from 3. And when the other team shoots 47% from 3, hitting 19 of their 43 pointers, what do you expect to happen? You're going to get your butts kicked every night of the week, especially with this roster. Sucks, but it is a loss, and a loss right now is a win for the tank.
So playing without Chuma Okeke tonight, and we did mention on last week's episode that, the fact that Steve Clifford is the type of coach that comes out and says, oh, well, these are the things that we did wrong, and we're not going to celebrate moral victories and everything like that. And while I don't have that perspective, I mentioned that I'm glad that he does have that perspective. But at the same time, I think you can still celebrate against small wins like what we had tonight with Mo Bamba, his career high. You can mention Mo played well tonight. He's been playing better lately, but we still need to improve. And then you still can go on to say all the things that you said about the team tonight. But I appreciate you letting me vent. I had to get that off of my chest. But
hey, as a fan, you can be frustrated. So it just happens to be the case of the matter. It's just like perspective, right? Perspective of the coach and perspective of the fan, completely different.
Well, the thing tonight was like exactly what Milwaukee does is they are going to clog the paint, and they're going to say, if you're going to beat us, you're going to beat us with your 3-point shooting. And they do that pretty much for every team. It's not just the Magic. And a team like the Magic that outside of Mo Bamba, Gary Harris 1 of 3, Dwayne Bacon 1 of 2, RJ Hampton 1 of 5, Ross 0 of 3, like Cole Anthony 0 of 6 from 3. Like nobody else was shooting the basketball well from deep tonight other than Mo Bamba. Really, nobody else on the team shot the ball well tonight other than Mo Bamba. So when that happens, and again, like you said, you have a team shooting 19 of 40 from the three-point line. Giannis didn't even play tonight, and we still got beat almost by 40, by 37 points. Yeah, I completely understand why Cliff is frustrated. I'm happy that he has the demeanor of there aren't going to be moral victories. Like, we need to improve. He even said that. He's like, we got killed tonight, and nobody got better. He's like, we can take losses like the loss against Denver because we learned. But tonight, what did we learn? Milwaukee is really good. They execute well. They're really well coached. Other than that, we didn't learn anything, which is fair. Did Mo play perfectly tonight? No, there were still, times where he was out of position, and it just seems weird to me now at this point that he hasn't figured out like the rebounding positioning, like how to be in the right spot and when to go for rebounds and things like that. Because I'm 5'9", and I feel like I have a pretty good handle on that. Like when you're playing defense, unless you're fronting a guy, you're in between him and in the basket. A shot goes up, you put your butt on him, you box out, and then you're going up for the rebound if it comes in your direction. And Mo, a lot of times, just doesn't ever seem to be in between his defender and the rim to be able to put his butt on him and go up for a rebound. So often he's like outside of like the restricted area in the middle of the paint, and it's like he doesn't even end up going for it. So that is still a concern, obviously, like you said. You want to see Mo rebound better. But, tonight I thought he was active defensively. There were a few plays where he was given second and third efforts trying to help other guys that were getting beat. One of those ended up in like a Bobby Portis layup. But, Cam, good grief. We'll talk about Cam in a little bit. But Mo, tried to help R.J. Hampton. I think there was one other guy that blew his coverage, and Mo tried to help as well, and then led to an easy Bobby Portis layup, which you don't want to see. But when other guys are getting beat, it was like Vooch. People cried about Vooch being a terrible rim defender for years, but weren't getting upset with guys like Terrence Ross, Evan Fournier, Markelle Fultz, just letting the guard with the ball go right past them. And then Vooch is coming over trying to help, and he stands no chance at that point. But anyways, Luke, thank you for letting me vent here. We're going to really quickly go through the weekly state of the Magic. So right now, the Orlando Magic are 17-35 after going 0-4 on the week. 0-3 on the week with a loss to the Wizards, 131-116. The Pacers, 111-106. And then tonight, we just got absolutely destroyed, 124-87. Right now, the Magic are 27th in the league, just sitting outside that bottom three. They're just one game up, I believe, on the Detroit Pistons at this moment. So we play the Pistons coming up here in a couple of weeks. The Pistons have been playing a little bit better recently, actually. Like their last 6-8 games, it's like win, loss, win, loss, win, loss. They've been playing pretty close to 500 basketball the last couple of weeks. They play the Clippers tonight, so that's probably not going to be a win. We're still kind of scoreboard watching the Minnesota and Chicago Bulls game. Minnesota's up 1 with 7:08. They'll probably find a way to blow that if I had to guess, Luke. But right now, the Magic, if the draft lottery was today, have a 48.1% chance of securing a top 4 pick, 12.5% chance of securing the number 1 overall pick altogether. Luke, we're going to go ahead, share my screen here, and we'll go ahead and do a simulation. I don't have my tank helmet on. I forgot to grab that before we started here.
How about
let me grab
Jonathan? You do that, and I'll talk for a second here.
All right, go ahead. I'll grab my helmet.
Guys, in regard to scoreboard watching, one team you don't need to care about. I know Jonathan just mentioned it. Jonathan mentioned that the Timberwolves are playing right now. One thing about the Timberwolves, guys, is that they are by far the worst team in the league, and they're going to continue to be the worst team in the league. They're probably going to blow it tonight to Chicago. But all that to say, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think a Minnesota game matters, as they are 4 games worse than the Magic, but they are so bad. They are atrocious. So, really, if you're scoreboard watching, you really should just pay attention to Detroit and Houston. Because Minnesota, they're atrocious. But Jonathan is back as tank commander here. So, Jonathan, you got your helmet?
Yeah, the thing that I hate about this, though, is it, first of all, having this helmet, it just creates such an echo of my own voice in my head, and it's annoying. And then obviously the headphones don't fit with the helmet on, so we're going to have to, I don't know, maybe cut some holes in this thing. What's
what
that?
else is annoying, Jonathan? The team being so bad that you had to purchase a tank, army helmet. That's annoying.
I'm just
So
I'm just trying to
annoying
do things
games,
to
annoying
keep it
prices.
fun.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
pretty
I mean
much.
I don't disagree with the helmet. I'm just telling you, this part of the tank, baby. It's all uncomfortable.
All right, so you know the rules, folks. You get one sim on the lottery, and the results are the results. If you run more than one sim, then don't bother sharing your results. So we'll go ahead. We're gonna sim the lottery here.
Sure.
Hope for good odds. Magic with the number 1 overall pick.
Whoa.
That's what we like to see. Chicago
Number
ends up with
one,
the
and
11th, then 11. I'm gonna take my
yeah.
helmet off. Take it
I
over.
yeah. So yeah, like you said, that was the Magic with the number 1 pick, which is obviously the dream, and then Orlando getting the 11th pick via the Bulls. Jonathan, I saw a proposal earlier today, an idea, if you will, is the Magic get the number 1 pick or a top pick, right? They just get their pick and that's it, and they just choose whoever they choose. But if the Bulls pick is in the 8 to 11 range, do you package like a number 8, number 9 Bulls pick and Magic player 2 or 3, and try to move up into that top 5 to get another perennial potential All-Star?
So I think everybody really agrees that this draft is top 5, and then it really dropped like top 4 arguably, but at least top 5, and then it drops off pretty significantly.
Comparably.
Well, so I just think that I'm afraid what it would cost us to pair a pick like 8, 9, or 10 to get into the top 5, because again, the drop off. The guys after 5 are still plenty good.
Situation?
Okay, Mo Bamba and the 8th pick are not getting you into the top 5. I'm more talking about like Cole Anthony, Chuma Okeke, stuff like that. Mo Bamba and 9, I'm trading. Mo Bamba and 9 to get into the top 5, I'm trading.
If it is like Cole, Bamba, the Bulls pick, and I don't know what else. I'm sure there's people out there being like, "That's not enough. That's not enough." Shut your mouth. You don't know. But
it's probably not enough. But man, I don't know.
But
I still think Cole can be really good.
We're just playing the game here. But
I still think Cole can be really good. Top 5. I mean, it would have to depend on where that first pick is. Like if the first pick is Cade, and then you're telling me Jalen Green is there at 5, then absolutely. But if the pick is like Jalen Green, and then it might be Jalen Suggs or Kuminga, I mean, you probably still do it. This is the issue with watching these teams on a day-to-day basis, is you do value them much more than everybody else does, and you grow like an emotional attachment, and it's hard to look at them unbiasedly. Like it's hard to take off those glasses of like, I believe in this guy, I want him to be really good and everything like that. So like the fan in me, I really have a hard time making some of these moves because I don't want to give up on these guys, and I do believe that they can be really good. Now, I mean, we're not even 30 games in to Cole's career. Like at the 20-game mark, we're all like, okay, he's kind of figuring some things out. Right now, he's doing everything well. He's just not shooting the basketball well. Like looking at Cole's stats here, and I have them in front of me since he's returned. 26 minutes a game, 11 points, shooting 31% from the floor. He's shooting 16% from 3, but 5.7 rebounds, 5.7 assists, 1 turnover. So 5.7 to 1 is his assist-to-turnover ratio right now, which is incredible, right? Yep. He's doing everything well. He's just not shooting the ball well right now. And that could be rust. It could be a lack of rhythm. Maybe he needs to tweak his mechanics in the offseason. Some people have talked about that. But if he was shooting the ball right now, if Cole was shooting 35% from 3 instead of 16% from 3, people are having a much different discussion right now. When we talk about small sample size and Cole's inefficient, like we talked about this at the beginning of the year with Cole. We need to be patient with him. We were trying to be patient to like the 20-game mark, and again at the 20-game mark, it seemed like he had figured some things out, and now it's like he missed 2 months, 3 games in. We're like, oh man, are we gonna trade Cole so we can move up to get Jonathan Kuminga? I'm not ready to say yes to that. That might be the right thing to do. It might be the smart thing to do. I'm not ready to say that. I don't know if I was the GM if I would trade 9 and Cole Anthony to trade up and get like Jonathan Kuminga or Jalen Suggs. Now, again, we end up with a top pick and we end up with Cade or Evan Mobley, and then you're telling me at 5 we have a chance to still get Jalen Green, then yes. But like my big board, I guess you would say, is like Cade, Evan Mobley, and Jalen Green are probably like 2A and 2B. And then I don't believe in Jalen Suggs and Jonathan Kuminga as much as I do those other 3 guys. It sounds like you would do it, which is fine.
I'd do it. Yeah, I'd do it. I don't know. It's a top 5 pick, man. Like, and a really good draft class, and those top 5 guys are all studs with the potential to be breakout stars one day. Cole Anthony, could he? Yes. I just don't think that the potential is higher than those guys that are top 5.
2 years ago, we were talking about Cole the same way we're talking about these guys. 2 years ago, Cole was arguably the best high school prospect. I mean,
right,
he's an inefficient scorer. Things change, but I just feel like Jonathan Kuminga, right, played pretty well in the G League, which we've talked about says more to us than playing well in college because you're playing against pros. And Jonathan Givony was recently on the Woj pod and was saying the same things. Like, these G League games hold more weight to GMs and executives around the league than college basketball does. But, like, Cole is a guy who, again, we were talking the same way about him that we're talking about these guys, not even 2 years ago. So, like, the potential is still there. And, again, if he was shooting the ball well right now.
The potential's there. Like, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. The potential is there. However, I just said that the potential ceiling is higher with the top 5. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that Cole Anthony doesn't have potential. Don't hear me say that. I'm saying that, compared to the guys in the draft this year, those guys have a higher potential. Guys that played in the G League already, like, they have higher potential than Cole Anthony.
So you think Jonathan Kuminga right now has more potential than Cole Anthony?
Yes, I do. I think that he does.
I don't agree with that, but that's I understand where you're coming from.
He put up numbers he put up numbers in the G League, and Cole Anthony's out here and he shot 38% from the field in college. So, like, I've given Cole Anthony a pass for that. He didn't have a good team. He was supposed to be a chucker, but he has still continued that. He's still a chucker, and maybe he figures it out, and I hope he does. But like I said, I still think he has potential because he does. Guys have figured out their shot before. I'm not riding off Cole Anthony. Don't take it as that. But on draft night, if I have a chance to trade Cole Anthony for a top 5 pick, I'm doing it. And I'm not really hesitating about it either. Like, I'm doing it.
Jonathan Kuminga shot 38% in the G League this year. So, you have valid points, and Cole was not stellar at UNC. I'm a UNC fan, and I was not blown away. We talked to Eric Fawcett before the draft, and I said that. I was not blown away by Cole Anthony at UNC. But Jonathan Kuminga averaged 15 points on 14 shots per game in the G League. Now, if you want to talk about defensive potential, Jonathan Kuminga has defensive stud like written all over him. But when we talk about what this team needs is shooting. I think Jonathan Kuminga averaged like 27% from 3 in the G League. And we talked about the Rob Hennigan era, how so much of Rob Hennigan was like, we're going to draft these guys who have check all these other boxes, and we're going to turn them into shooters later. Never worked out. Didn't work out with Elfrid Payton. I mean, kind of sort of worked out with Aaron Gordon. Mario Hezonja was supposed to be a shooter. That never really manifested itself. Victor Oladipo wasn't a great shooter in his time in Orlando. So I don't know if that's the route that we want to go down. Like, we definitely draft top 5. You're drafting best player available at that point. You're taking as many bites at the apple, as our buddy Josh Robbins has said. So you're taking the best player available. But in my opinion, and everybody, it's like every year we get to the draft, we're like, let's draft a shooter. Let's draft a shooter. Let's draft a shooter. This team desperately needs shooting. If you believe Jonathan Kuminga has more potential than Cole Anthony, and that deal is there for you, which we're having all these conversations, and this deal probably will never manifest itself. There's probably no chance of it happening, right? But if you're the GM and you believe that, then you make the deal. I just don't know that I would make the deal. But I get where you're coming from. I think Jonathan Kuminga is going to be really, really good. I would just be afraid that it doesn't work out, and then Cole Anthony turns into the guy that he has shown signs of being this year.
Yeah, and it could also go vice versa, right? Like Kuminga could be incredible depoy one day and all of that, and we're sitting back saying, man, remember that hypothetical we had about Cole Anthony, and Cole Anthony's still shooting 38% from the field. Like that's a very real scenario as well. And like you said, like this scenario doesn't happen on draft night most likely. But when the team is what it is right now, all we can think about is the future. So sue us for having these conversations.
So right now, I'm just looking at like the mock draft. So we ended up with 1 and then 11 in this draft. So right now, Tankathon would have us picking Cade Cunningham and then Keon Johnson, shooting guard from Tennessee, who I really don't know much about. I'm not going to act like I do.
He's a stud.
Well, there you go. But Tankathon doesn't really take into account like team need and things like that. They just have really their mock draft, which is their big board, and then the order that they think teams are going to end up picking in, or really just the standings that they're at.
It's pretty much now. It's pretty much best player available trend the entire time on those mock drafts.
Exactly.
Like, instead of, like you said, player needs. So like maybe the first 4 picks, 5 picks are pretty accurate, but then after that, who knows what draft night's going to hold.
So how frequently right now, Luke, are you looking at mock drafts like CBS, ESPN, stuff like that? How often do you check those?
I mean, to be honest, I'm pretty much just looking at those top 5. I'm looking to see where people are, where Mobley is going. If he's still, if he were, hypothetically like 4 and now he's 2 in some mock drafts, like I'm mainly gauging the top 5 because that's what I hope the Magic are at. Since acquiring the Bulls pick, I haven't looked at it a ton, but I have started kind of, looking in a little bit to those mock drafts in the Bulls range where like, 9, 10, 11. I do like, the guy from Tennessee, Keon. I like him a lot. I think he could be really good. So, yeah, it'll continue to increase, the more that the later that it gets in the year. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good guys. It's hard because it is like, people are saying it drops off after 5, where it does, but it's comparatively, it drops off after 5. If this draft class of like from 6 to wherever the rest of the draft was imported into last year, it's like, oh, this draft's actually pretty solid. But because the talent of the top 5 guys is so apparent, I think it's pretty easy to just think like there's not a ton there. But I mean, to get, Keon from Tennessee, like that Keon Johnson from Tennessee, I mean, that guy's a stud, and he's projected pretty high in a lot of places. He's just not in the range of the top 5 guys.
So you're really more looking at like the big boards, like the big picture of things, like where they think 1 through 5, where those guys are ranked and where they think they're going to go, right? Because I'm looking at the mock drafts every single week. Like every other day, I'm Googling to see if there are new mock drafts, and every one that comes out, it's like 90% of them has the Magic in one way or another drafting Jalen Green. And you and I have been talking about Jalen Green for what feels like 3, 4, maybe 5 months now. Like since the first time I watched his film, I was like, that's the guy that I want the Magic to pick. And we've talked about how every year I pick a guy and it's never the guy. But it just feels like I'm just being really cruelly teased with every mock draft that comes out. It's like Orlando Magic, Jalen Green. Orlando Magic, Jalen Green. And then it's either going to be on the lottery night where we end up with the 5th or the 6th pick, and I'm like, great, now we have no shot at getting this guy. Or it's going to be draft night when we're sitting there with the 3rd pick. Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley are off the board. Jalen Green is sitting right there for us, and we end up taking Jalen Suggs or Jonathan Kuminga. I'm starting to process that is inevitable, and that's what's going to happen. But if it ends up being Jalen Green, the hype is going to be just incalculable. It's just going to be absolutely ridiculous. I'll be so excited that the guy that I finally wanted for months and months and months, that we finally got him. And that will just be a wonderful, wonderful day for me if it happens.
are you currently more nervous? I think I know the answer to this. Are you currently more nervous for lottery night or draft night itself?
Lottery, man, because without the lottery, it's going to limit the possibilities of draft night. Like
Yeah.
if we score high in the lottery, you could tell me anything happens because not only you're talking about possibly taking, if you end up with the number one pick, talking about Cade or getting Jalen Green or one of these other guys, but then you're talking about, like, you can name anybody in the league, be like, we're going to trade for that guy. And it's like, oh, you've got the number one pick. I mean, maybe outside of maybe Zion and Luka and a handful of other guys, but almost anybody else in the league are like attainable at that point when you've got that number one pick. So I'm definitely going to be much more nervous for the lottery. At least now I feel that way. When it comes to draft night, man, depending on where our pick, I'm going to be sweating because if we end up with like the 4th or the 5th pick and 1 is Cade, 2 is Evan Mobley, and we're sitting there at 4, and whoever's at number 3 and Adam Silver comes out with the 3rd pick in the 2021 NBA draft, the such and such pick Jalen Suggs, and I'm just going to freak out because the moment I hear Jalen, my heart's going to break, and then if you hear Suggs, you're like, we still have a chance. And then with the 4th pick, the Magic take Jonathan Kuminga. That's how this is all going to go. I know that's how it's going to go. Trying to wrap my head and accept it now, but definitely way more nervous for the lottery initially. What about you?
Yeah, and it's hard not to be. It's hard not to be, right? Because it's closer. It's luck. It's like you get to that night, man. Butterflies are gonna be just like through the roof. You're gonna just be just sweating bullets, and you're gonna wonder why because you're like wearing a t-shirt and shorts. Yeah, that's gonna be a really stressful night, man. That's gonna be really stressful. But draft night, like let's say the Magic get the 4th pick, draft night is going to end up being more stressful, I think, than lottery night, solely because 4th pick. Yeah, you and everybody else in the world in the Magic fan base is gonna want Jalen Green, I think.
At 4, I would think
3,
so.
And if he goes 3, man, that is just cruel. And then you're keeping up with Jalen Green the rest of his career, and he's crushing it. And you know, Jalen Suggs just isn't doing it for you.
Don't
draft
say
night
that.
is going to be draft night is going to be insanely more stressful than people are thinking about right now because everyone's focused on lottery night, but draft night, man, draft night is going to be insane.
Everything that you are describing has already ran through my head about 5,000 times. Like watching Jalen Green in like Oklahoma City or something like that, just balling out with SGA as they win their 3rd consecutive NBA Finals. And I'm just sitting here crying like, maybe Alex Martin Smith 30-30. Like, eventually this is going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So, like, yeah. Draft the night of the lottery, like that entire day. I might have to take that day off from work because there's absolutely no way I'm going to be able to focus on doing anything productive. I might have to take that day off and be like, babe, you're good with the kids, right? Like, I'm going to take off. I'm going to go to the beach by myself for the day and just, like, try to relax. And then I'll definitely have to find some restaurant around here and have them put it on the TV for me live because, you know, I'm usually 40 seconds to a minute behind the live stream when I'm watching on AT&T Now or whatever. And I just can't take the text from people like, oh, my God, did you see what happened? Like, I can't do that. I need to find out what happens in almost real time. I'm going to have to put my phone down.
Do you put your phone down or do you turn off Woj and Shams since they ruin the draft every year now?
That's too much work for me. I just put my phone down in the other room, and then as soon as our pick is over, I'll go and get my phone, and then I don't care the rest of the night. But I just don't want our pick ruined. I always put my phone down. You know, like last year we were 15th. I think at like 12th or the 13th, I just put my phone down. I didn't pick it up until after we had picked Cole Anthony. But yeah, man, that's going to be – because the thing that is really going to suck is if we get screwed. Because – so I remember what was that, the 2013 draft? when the Cavs ended up with the first pick again after they had just got, Kyrie a few years before that. I was just like, what the hell is going on? Like, now the first pick really wouldn't have meant anything because we probably would have still taken Victor Oladipo at 1. I don't even believe that Rob Hennigan would have taken Anthony Bennett number 1 overall. But then a few years later, again, when you see the Cavs end up with the number 1 overall pick, it's just like, we just keep getting screwed every single time. We barely missed on Embiid. We barely missed on Porzingis. And, like, I can't take that again. I really can't take that again. And that is a big part of the reason that I was hesitant for a long time, when we still had Vooch and everything, of buying in to the tank. Because you do all this, you get all hyped up. You're hoping that you get the pick. Like, it happened in 2018 where we got jumped twice. Didn't end up with Trey or Luka, like so many of us had been hoping for months and months and months, especially Trey, because Luka didn't really seem like it was going to happen, and there were some people that thought he wasn't going to be any good, which I thought was crazy at the time. But then, I mean, we ended up with Mo, and I like Mo. He's a nice fella, but he's not Luka Doncic. He's not Trae Young. And I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to end up with Scotty Barnes and be like, Scotty's a nice fella. Scotty doesn't know that he's not Jalen Green. I don't want to run into that. You know what I'm saying? So you get that reference, right? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
course.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah. I think the nightmare, as you've been talking to, I've been just like, I'm not taking any of these to heart, but I am just simming to see like where teams
that's where you get
end
yourself
up
into trouble.
and whatnot. Oh, yeah. I mean, I just got myself into trouble when the Magic got the 3rd and then the Bulls got the 4th. So where the Magic would back-to-back there, which would be absolutely insane. Which, looking back, I mean, good on the Bulls for getting a top 4 protected deal done with the Magic, because if that happens...
You are not... you better all unfollow me the night
unwell.
Unfollow me the night of the lottery if the Bulls end up with a top 4 pick. Unfollow me, because it's going to get ugly.
Unless the Magic got the number 1 pick, honestly, then I'd be, or 2. But if you get the 3 and the Bulls get the 4, I'll flip out. Or if the Bulls
then you
got
just
3
get
and
lucky.
the Magic got 4.
But then you just got lucky. Like, oh, great, you got lucky and you got the first pick. Well, guess what? You still screwed yourself out of an all-star, pretty much. Because if this trade ends up being, I mean, it will convey into the following year. But if this pick ends up being
with no protections, right?
Otto Porter, who nobody knows when he's going to play, and Wendell Carter Jr. for Vooch, there's going to be some problems. But the odds of that happening are very, very slim. But that is just, I'm the type of person, I always plan for the worst possible case scenario, and then I do everything that I can to make sure that doesn't happen. This scenario, for something that I care about as much as I care about the Magic, and I don't have any control over that, and that possibility is just floating out there constantly, that the Bulls could end up with a top 4 pick and just crush me, is a real, real problem for me, Luke.
Yeah, because
it's not going to go away until...
Yeah, but then everybody's like, oh, but you get their pick the next year, though. And it's like, I don't want it because they're going to be too good, because now they've got a top 4 guy who, if they're as good as everybody says they're going to be, they're not going to be in the top 4 next year. There won't even be a shot. You got Vucevic, LaVine, you line them up next to a potential all-star. Forget about it. I don't care about that pick anymore. Trade it.
Yeah, and looking at, oh my gosh, the Minnesota Timberwolves are up 2 with 10.8 seconds left, Luke. We're talking about the Bulls, and oh my gosh, so 9.3 seconds left. I'm trying to pull up the game cast right now to see what the heck is happening. All right, so...
yeah, but are you worried? That was what I was saying when you were putting on your
tank and the Timberwolves have the ball.
Are you
Timberwolves have the ball.
I don't even think there's a reality that the Timberwolves... I said, I don't even think there's a reality that the Timberwolves aren't the worst record in the league.
I don't know. They just got D'Angelo Russell back. Yeah, I mean, he's not. I mean, D'Lo isn't the Brooklyn Nets D'Lo that we're talking about, but there's a chance. It's not likely. It's highly unlikely, but there is a chance. I'm looking at the standings now, league wide. we are – so right now we're 4 games up on the Timberwolves. I mean, probably not. But the thing is, like, you really just want to be in the top 3 because then everybody has the same odds of, the number 1 overall pick. But, yeah, I'm still going to continue for those bottom 3 teams to lose. It's at least a little bit exciting at the prospect that something could maybe, potentially, possibly, probably not, but it could happen. I'm going to continue to root for that. Like, who was it the other night? The Rockets, I think, were up on the Clippers in, like, the first half and then just completely blew it.
Was that the Suns? Or
I don't know.
Were they playing
whoever
the Suns,
they were
or was
beating, they
day?
blew it.
Yeah,
I really honestly I don't
we were
remember.
Recording?
Well, that might have been,
like
but more recently I'm talking about the Clippers because that was 2 games ago. It was very recently. It was like this week or this weekend maybe. But no, it wasn't this weekend, but it was like Thursday or Friday or something. But yeah, I mean, the crazy thing is we still play the Pistons, we still play the Rockets, we still play the Timberwolves. So if you're 2 games up on the Timberwolves and they win and you lose, like all of a sudden things get really interesting. So, anyways, Luke, I mean, the only thing that we haven't talked about is the waiving of Khem Birch. So I wanted to ask you about this. You and I haven't really talked about it. The crazy thing is, that morning, you and I were talking about the potential of Mo getting dealt in the offseason and keeping Khem as the backup, and I was just like, I don't see that happening, but like we talked about it being a possibility, and then like 2 hours later, Khem is waived, and we're like, whoa, did we speak that into existence? So it's kind of cool,
know.
Now
he signed 2 hours.
Yeah, it was like super soon after.
It was like soon. Yeah,
it was certainly soon.
Yeah, the whole thing was crazy. I would like to say that we manifested it, but yeah, I mean, I wish that I wish I could ask the front office, hey, what were you thinking around deadline with Khem Birch sitting there on a very movable contract, and then you waive him, and then he just goes to wherever, which is nice. Magic now have a very nice recent track record with players that they're gonna waive or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. We don't need to really dive into it too much because it's not a huge deal. Because I mean, what do you get? You get a second rounder for Khem maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It was a little weird to me. I don't know the reasoning. I don't know, Jonathan, if you've heard anybody explain it that made sense to you as to why there was like no trade happened at deadline. But life's been kind of crazy for me the last few days, so I really haven't dove into why that might have been.
Well, the thing that always happens anytime anything happens with the Magic, like I put a tweet out and then I get 3, 4, 5 replies, and then I find myself having the conversation like 5 different threads. So it starts to feel like it's a really big deal to me just because I have all these conversations going on, and then I think about it, I'm like, oh, we waived Khem. It really doesn't matter, but just the context of talking to all these different people about it, and you see it all over the timeline, it starts to feel like a big deal when it's really not sometimes. But so I got a few different arguments. The first was, well, if the Magic would have traded him, they wouldn't have had anybody to play, and we wouldn't have been able to play that Friday game against Portland, which is not true. People were saying how because of COVID protocols, we weren't able to play like R.J. Hampton and Otto Porter Jr. and stuff that Friday, which doesn't check out because Gary Trent Jr. got traded from Portland to Toronto that Thursday at the deadline, and he played that Friday for the Raptors. So that logic doesn't really check out. And then the Magic, they just signed David Kennedy. They basically had been telling him, hey, quarantine. When we get back from this road trip, we're going to sign you to a 10-day contract. Why could you not have done that? Now the Magic have signed Robert Franks to a 10-day contract. Why could you not have done that with Robert Franks and traded Khem, signed Robert Franks that Thursday, and then played him that Friday? So that logic also doesn't check out because that would have been a possibility. The only thing that makes sense, and I didn't think of it initially, to be fair, you just alluded to it actually, that other people did mention to me, is that this is building up goodwill with potential free agents coming to the Orlando Magic. They've traded Nikola Vucevic to a potential playoff team. They traded Aaron Gordon to one of his preferred destinations, a great team. They traded Evan Fournier to a playoff team. And now they have waived Khem to let him go basically have a 2-month tryout with the Toronto Raptors in Tampa. And then if the Raptors like him, which I think they will, we all say that Kem is a very good backup center in the league, he might have the opportunity to sign and play in Toronto, close to his home, and I believe he's from Montreal. So they're building goodwill around the league with agents and free agents and things like that, which is probably more important than getting a second-round pick for Kem.
Yeah,
Are you eating a cookie right now?
Yeah, I was eating chocolate chip cookies.
Nice.
Yeah.
Chips Ahoy?
Yeah.
Chewy or classic?
No, it wasn't Chips Ahoy. We had made them. We just baked them.
Oh, homemade.
They're just well, not really homemade. They were in a packaged dough.
Today I was at a birthday party, and it's a friend of mine, but his wife and I graduated together. So other people that during their wedding and birthday parties, it's always like a mini high school reunion. It's kind of cool. But one of these girls that is friends with my buddy's wife that we graduated together, she made Oreo truffles. I don't know if you've ever had those. I'll actually send you the recipe. Absolute fire. Like a serious problem. Carry on.
What does it even look like?
It looks like almost like a cake pop. It just looks like a ball, like you make the truffle or whatever, and then you dip it in the the chocolate that hardens. And it was just delightful, super moist. The Oreo flavor obviously there, just a serious problem if I ever get my hands on them. Well, my wife and I are probably going to end up making them.
Yeah,
You're talking about Kem.
Send me that recipe. Yeah. So we're talking about Kem. I was just saying, as a funny aside, I texted a friend of the show, Eric Fawcett, was on to talk draft with us this past offseason. Did a really great job breaking that down for us. Probably going to have him again on at some point going into this offseason for sure, where we need all the information we can get about the draft. But he said he's Canadian. He's a Toronto fan. And I texted him about the Khem Birch trade because he loves Khem Birch. Just thinks he's one of the best backups, and as he should think that. I texted him about it, and I was like, "What do you think about the Khem Birch thing?" He goes, "He's too good. I don't like it. I need my team to be bad. I'm wanting us to not win games, and Khem Birch, just too good." So there's the Khem Birch love for the night. Thankful for his time, but it's time for the young guns, and I'm glad that Kem gets to go back home. Hopefully, if the trial goes well, can actually go play in Toronto in Canada next year.
And back to kind of what we were saying earlier about how, fans that have been a fan of this team for a long time and have seen, a lot of success and a lot of great players come through that are kind of jaded by any minimal success that this current regime has. I talk very, very highly of the 2018-2019 season, the first time making the playoffs in, 7-8 years or whatever it was at the time. That 22-9 run that we went on to end the season, to finish the season 42-40, will always be very near and dear to me. And then people are like, really, you got excited about a first round, basically gentleman's sweep, right? But I wanted to mention this about Khem Birch. Obviously we appreciate his time here, but that whole run doesn't happen without Khem Birch, right? Mo wasn't playing all that well. Jerian Grant was not playing all that well. Mo Bamba gets hurt. The second unit really wasn't playing that well as a whole. But Mo Bamba gets hurt. Kem comes in. The team signs Isaiah Briscoe, and then Jerian Grant falls out of the rotation. And instantly that second unit was so much better and helped really propel that 22-9 run. Isaiah Briscoe, I think he tore his meniscus, and then Michael Carter-Williams comes in for the last 12 games. Those three guys will always be special to me, even if, they're not great players. Michael Carter-Williams at times now can be a very frustrating player, at least offensively. But Isaiah Briscoe, Khem Birch, and Michael Carter-Williams will always be those guys that if it were not for them, that 18-19 season does not happen. Because I remember talking on this podcast when Isaiah Briscoe, we got the news about his meniscus that he would probably miss the rest of the season. It's oh my God, what are we literally going to do without Isaiah Briscoe? That's how much better he made the team and made the second unit. And then Michael Carter-Williams came in and basically took what Isaiah did and elevated it a little bit. But really appreciate Kem. Super nice guy. Met him once at Top Golf in Orlando. But that run doesn't happen without him. So I'll always be grateful for that. Seems like a great dude. Seems like an awesome teammate. Wish him all the best in Toronto, Luke. So we got anything else?
No, and I will say, Jonathan, I went to look at the recording time, when we linked up our audio before this, and it was like 30 minutes at the time. And I was like, oh, wow, we might go only like 40 minutes today. Looking at now, my timer's on 55. We never fail to extend time here, Jonathan. Even when we don't, it's not the goal. It's never the goal to extend the time, but we always manage to either get to that hour mark or just almost have it. So that's all. That was like my last thought, really. Just
without fail.
Yeah.
Whatever
just
you guys think you want the length of the episode to be, you can always count on us going beyond that. Because sometimes we're like, oh, this should be like 35, 40 minutes, and then we look and we're like, oh, we did an hour again. Great. So, but
Right.
hope the folks at home listening enjoy it. So, Luke, next week, so tomorrow versus San Antonio at home, that game starts at 8 o'clock Eastern. And then we're at Chicago. At Chicago, Luke. That is going to be a rough night. Like, that's going to be an emotional night. The first time facing Nikola Vucevic in a different uniform. That's going to be weird, Luke. Any thoughts on how that night is going to go? I mean, not really the game, but just like that whole broadcast.
Oh, I mean, I was going to say, I know how it's going to go. It's going to end with Vucevic having 25 points and 16 rebounds. So, yeah, I mean, that's how I think it's going to go in terms of that. In terms of the broadcast, I mean, I think that we might see some of the Fox Sports, is it Bally or
Bally?
Okay. The Bally Sports staff get a little emotional, maybe. Whether it's Dante or the other guys, like just kind of, talking about Vucevic. Because there hasn't been really anything. They might have done something on broadcast. I'm in Omaha, so I don't always get to watch their broadcast. But did they do something after the trade, like the first game back from the deadline? Did they do like a tribute at all in terms of on TV? I know they won't in arena until Vucevic comes back, but
I don't believe so. And if they did, it was very brief. So obviously, it's going to be unavoidable.
One this week.
Yeah, I don't expect it to be a tribute or anything like that, but like it's going to be the elephant in the room the entire time. That 2 weeks ago was our guy and is now their guy. Like David Steele might be like, and Nikola Vucevic hits the 3 for the Magic or something crazy like that, just because he said that 5 bazillion times at this point. But yeah, so that game is going to be weird. I've been weirdly looking forward to that game just to see what happens. But yeah, so at Chicago Wednesday, that game starts at 8 o'clock. And then Friday at Toronto/Tampa, that game will be 7:30. I might have to go to that game, Luke. For some reason, I thought that game was further in the month. I might have to go to that Friday night game.
Which one?
7:30 at Toronto. So it's going to be in Tampa, which is it's like an hour and 10 minutes to Amalie Arena.
Have you looked at Raptors tickets this year?
Right now, it says tickets as low as $22. So,
and when the Magic come to town, those tickets are the lowest they're gonna get.
I might be hitting the scalpers outside. SeatGeek says 23. What can you do for me? What can you do for me? So, feeling like an 0-3 week, Luke, or you feel like we're gonna pull one out?
At this point, Jonathan, it's always feeling like a winless week. Yeah, who'd you say the games were besides Chicago?
Oh, and then I'm sorry, I missed one. Sunday versus Houston, so that's going to be big. So it's the Spurs, Chicago, Toronto, and then Houston. Man, I hope that Sunday
lines already opened up for the lines already opened up for the Spurs Magic game tomorrow, and it's Spurs favored by 6. I do expect the Spurs to win that game.
Last time.
Yeah, so Spurs game, that's an L. Bulls game, that's an L. Maybe the Raptors. I'll say the Magic go Oh my goodness! I say the Magic go 2-2.
I don't know about that.
The Rockets.
I don't know.
You don't.
The
Raptors aren't world
seems,
beaters. Let's not get it wrong.
Nah,
If Gary Trent Jr. goes for 50, then they beat us. Yes, but I don't think. I don't think that's gonna be.
All right, so they're down. They're down 2 right now with 30.9 seconds to go against the Knicks. If they end up beating the Knicks, they'll have won 4 out of their last 6. Even if they lose, they've won 3 out of their last 6. So they had a huge losing streak last month. So they seem to be coming out of that a little bit and starting to play.
Gary Trent Jr.
Gary Trent Jr. So, I mean, he dropped 44 in their last game. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that Raptors Knicks game, but I think the Raptors are starting to figure some things out. Khem Birch is going to be big for them. We're talking about our boy Khem, so we'll see what ends up happening. But
can we get a Khem versus Mo moment?
Oh boy, I'm not ready to see that. I don't want to see Vooch like dunk all over Mo. I really don't want to see that. Like I'm sure that's happened plenty of times.
Dunk all over Mo?
I want to see Mo dunk all over Khem. I really would love to see that.
Nice.
Just for like.
That would be nice.
Be like, all right, this guy.
Twitter purposes
he's got
only.
something to him. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I'm really interested in that Wednesday game for the Bulls, and then that Sunday game is going to be stressful because that's big draft lottery implications, especially depending on how those teams play throughout the week. Yeah, it's a full game swing
that night, so that'll be a big one.
And let's really quickly we can check to see who else the Rockets are going to play this week, just to see if there's a potential for the Rockets to pick up another game here.
Magic.
So let's see their schedule this week. Come on, ESPN, stop taking forever to load. So this week, at Phoenix versus Indiana versus Denver, and then at Orlando. So probably not.
That's a lot of losses there. Yeah.
I mean, your best chance maybe
they
Indiana.
Beat Indiana.
Yeah, maybe they beat Indiana, but so yeah, Sunday's gonna be.
Or maybe one of those teams rest their stars.
Yeah, like the Bucks did the other night, where they rested all 5 starters. Like, good grief, they're not doing anybody any favors. But all right, Luke, anything else?
I think that's it.
All right, folks. Well, that is gonna do it for this week's episode. For Luke, this is Jonathan. You guys are listening to the Six Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.